Hello, everybody. You are listening to episode 4 of the TNT Thursday Night Throwdown. My name is Chris Maloney. I am your host, London, Ontario, of course. With me tonight, as always, Shawn Bates of the Scumbags of Wrestling. Shawn, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, doing good. No complaints.
As well as special guests tonight, and we will do a complete bio the second half of this show. So the show does run an hour. So about 8:30 or so, we're going to do a complete bio on Midwestern Wrestling. But right now on the line, we've got Clarence and Doug from Midwestern Wrestling. How you guys doing over there?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good. Clarence, you all good?
Oh, not too bad at all.
All right. So what we're going to do right now is get into some pro wrestling talk. You guys feel free just to give your thoughts on anything that we bring up. And like I said, we're going to do a complete bio on Midwestern Wrestling coming up at 8:30 tonight. First thing I want to do is talk about this week's AEW. Now, Shawn, did you have a chance to watch it at all?
Yeah, I was actually home all night and saw the show. I definitely wanted to see how it looked, considering last April I was on that ship.
Wait, last April you were on that show? Or on that boat?
On that ship.
On that ship. Okay. So
a boat is a little thing. That's a big ship.
All right. Well, I might have thought you maybe said the word shit too as well, but I was just clarifying there. Anyways, I only caught 90 minutes of it. I end up not tuning in until 8:30. I didn't realize the opening match was going to be Omega and Page. Your guys' thoughts on new champs and how much longer are we going to see these guys team before all of a sudden Hangman just goes and AWOL? And are we going to see him leader of the Dark Order? Is that do you guys think that's on the horizon?
Definitely not the leader of the Dark Order. They need to get the titles switched onto them because the bigger story is the eventual breakup of Page leaving the Elite and eventually feuding with Kenny Omega. Plus, the way things are setting up, it's going to look like the Young Bucks against Omega and Page, and Kenny's going to be torn between his tag team partner and the Young Bucks of where his loyalty stands.
All right, Doug, do you follow AEW personally?
A little bit. Watch it periodically here and there, but I got to be honest with you. I get bits and pieces of it, and then I watched that Britt Baker part, and I just had to bail on that pretty good.
That was it, eh?
Well, yeah. Jeez.
Hey, it did create a nice meme of Tony Schiavone looking puzzled and saying, "What the f?"
Yeah, exactly. That was the only good thing that came out of that. I can't imagine Jim Ross sitting there going, "We got to get her off the air."
That's why they cut it.
Exactly.
I think you guys would probably agree she's got the look, but one of the big factors that people are talking about is the fact is they don't have enough wrestle time. Now she is green. Do you guys think she has that look, and do you think she's going to get any better by the end of the year?
I think she has the potential to do so, but like any of them, they need more in-ring time. And with AEW, they only have Wednesday night. Unless they get booked somewhere else on an indie show, they're not going to get the experience.
Agreed.
There's that microwave going off again. Thoughts, guys, on Jericho versus Moxley officially set for AEW Revolution coming up. Shawn, you've been Jericho, 1995, 96, whenever he was WCW. The transformation, I mean, we've talked on this show about those guys who have part of that 5-decade club. Jericho's not quite there, but he's been around for pretty much ever. Do you think he's still got what it takes? And do you see this feud with Moxley working?
It is a rehash of WWE. Unfortunately, thankfully, there's no potted plant being broken over anybody's head like it happened when Jericho did it to Ambrose with his Asylum show. But yeah, Jericho, the one thing he has going for him is his mind and being able to always refresh. Unfortunately, for some whatever reason, he went from being in shape, all of a sudden grew the hair and had the old wrestler bod. So I don't know what happened all there, but yeah, as long as he keeps evolving, he's going to be still relevant.
Yoga.
He needs to get back with Dallas.
Yeah.
Your guys' thoughts over there at as far as Jericho goes and the longevity of his career? I mean, do you still feel he's got what it takes when you tune in and see him as an AEW champion?
Well, let's always remember he is the youngest champion ever of AEW.
Very true.
Sammy Guevara decides to announce that every single week, probably about 30 times a show.
And should continue to do so forever. Jericho just keeps relaunching himself, right? So what does he do? I mean, he keeps getting guys over by getting himself over, but it's just what are they going to do with him? Like, is Moxley the next guy? Like, I don't know, right? So what's the long-term future there for Jericho? What does he do?
So do any of you guys agree or disagree with the fact that they have Jericho as champ? If they leave or put the title on Moxley, there's two guys who've already been established. How are they bringing up young talent?
Right.
I mean, here's a group that was started by the Young Bucks and Cody and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and yet you'd see back-to-back champions were former WWE champions. When do we go and see a guy who's not part of that WWE club who becomes champion AEW? Like, who's going to be that first?
You know what that reminds me of? WCW.
Yeah. Banking everything on the old WWE guys to get your rub and hope that the younger guys get a boost. But these guys, as you mentioned, the whole group of the elite, the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes, they all premised AEW as being something different than WWE, not doing the same old stuff, yet they're doing the same old stuff. They're like, wow, great. They were on a ship, and that's a different atmosphere, but it looked like WCW. They had a Legends thing. It was Slamboree. They just did Bash at the Beach. It's WCW recycled in 2020.
Yeah, it's almost
where's the originality?
With Tony
Schiavone. Yeah, go ahead.
With Tony Schiavone calling the action.
And JR.
And JR, yeah.
And they're going to get Taz.
Yeah.
So it's all older guys that, Excalibur. Yay. A guy in a hood doing commentating.
The way they're going, you're going to have Hulk Hogan as their champ before the end of the year.
Okay. On that note, I was going to bring this up later, but do you guys know what happened 36 years ago today?
No.
That would be a no. Hulk Hogan won
1984.
Yeah,
Madison
1984. Madison Square Garden. Hogan become champ over the Iron Sheik there
With the leg drop.
So yeah, it's funny. What's that?
Transitional champion, all because they didn't want to beat Backlund.
Right.
Sheiky baby.
Well, Hogan did have surgery, so maybe we will see an AEW Hulk Hogan.
He wants to have one last match.
Yeah. This is something for Clarence there. So Daniela Barmet says, "Wow, Clarence, no hat."
She must know me pretty well.
So yeah, if you guys want to make comments, Facebook or YouTube, feel free. I will post them on the show as long as they kind of somewhat PG rated. But anyways, from that point of the AEW topic, the one thing I don't know if you guys had realized, I don't know if it's Canadian or American, but I know my feed I get on TSN. Have you guys noticed at all the TSN muting the fan chants at all?
Yeah, it was kind of annoying yesterday because there was another ship that pulled up beside the Norwegian Pearl, and the fans were basically yelling at that ship that, your ship sucks and F your ship and all this other stuff. But because of that, and I guess it was quite audible, TSN or TNT, somebody, more than likely TSN, was muting it every time. So when the regular voices like JR and Excalibur were trying to talk, it was like they were stuttering, and it just totally took away from the main event with Moxley and Pac and most of the show when that was happening. Yet they allowed Britt Baker to say that Tony Schiavone was working a shitty job at
as a Starbucks barista.
Barista.
So the word shitty gets through, but other words don't. They didn't allow the word bitch.
Makes no sense.
Given the option between those two words.
Yeah.
So it's kind of frustrating with TSN.
Here's a question for you guys as promoters. You're putting on a show and the crowd's rowdy, and maybe they start "you fucked up" chant or whatever the case may be. Do you guys tolerate that, knowing there's maybe a 6-year-old sitting beside them?
I mean, we don't tolerate it. It's a family-friendly event. We try to put on a family-friendly atmosphere. But at the end of the day, if there was 12 people there, you can probably calm it down pretty quick. But I mean, when you have 300 people there, it's not something you can run out and say, oh, be quiet, everybody. Like, you can't be saying that stuff. I mean, people are going to say what they want to say, and we just have to get ahead of it before it happens.
So every situation you take as a different situation then.
Sure.
All right.
Before we put up AEW, can we just talk, like, what's going on with the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny, right? Like, they bring them in, and then they pump these guys up, and then they're just, I don't get what they're doing with these guys. What's their next step, right? Sure. After they're going to obviously get crushed by the Young Bucks coming up.
Shawn, as the Ontario independent guy, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, we've seen them grow here in Ontario, but to see them on TV the way that Doug was just mentioning, is that something that's sitting sour in your stomach, or is it just because of the fact that they're on a national stage and they got to rebuild these guys?
Yeah, it's kind of a waste of their talents. How they were brought in was really bad as well. Like, how many times did people have to come up through the ring? Like, you got Bray Wyatt doing it on WWE, they're doing it on AEW. And you're trying to establish new people. That's wonderful. But how did WWE and even WCW do it in the past? They had vignettes to introduce them. People come up from the bottom of the ring. Nobody knows them. And then they get associated with MJF, who already has a bodyguard. So he has two different sides of defense. Like, it's a waste of their talents for Butcher, Blade, and Bunny.
Agreed. And one thing, like, they keep talking that they want to, bring up young people and new and people you haven't seen before, and that's great. But what do they do with them once they put them on? Because that's a classic example right there. Like, now they're just going to be fodder for everybody. And then where do they build? Right? Do they build just to mid card status, and that's it's going to be as high as they're ever going to get? Right? Which is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but why would you bring them in so hot and then let them just get beat left, right, and center, right? With no future.
Exactly, and they did the same thing somewhat with even the Super Smash Brothers Dark Order. People in this area who, whether you're in Ontario or Quebec, know the Smash Brothers. They popped hard for that when they first appeared. But the rest of the arena, and because they haven't been able to work in the U.S. due to visa things, the U.S. crowd is going, "Who are you?"
Right. And
so now you're trying to establish them, and they did a little too much, and then it was just fell flat. And I applaud them for trying to do this, join the Dark Order little cult and go on the on their page and sign up and give your story. That's a way of building somebody up. But was it too late when they already got put out there to a dead cricket?
Yeah. Because like next week, the Butcher, Blade, and Bunny are wrestling against the Young Bucks, right? Like, I mean, do we think at all that there's a chance that that's going to go over, right? So,
yeah.
No, Super Kick Party taking place next week. Who do we see as the leader of the Dark Order taking? I mean, is it somebody going to bring in new, or is it somebody who's already on the roster?
I'll defer. I'm not really up on what's going on with that group there.
Yeah, they definitely need to do something, because what it's sitting at right now is kind of half-assed, I guess, because they've done, like I said, nothing, and then they've built something. So they do need a leader, because Evil Uno is not being taken seriously. I heard rumors of it being Marty Scurll, but now he's staying with Ring of Honor and doing the gig with NWA. So does he spread himself over to AEW as well? The other name that I heard is Matt Hardy. If his contract is up, will they throw money at him to leave WWE and give him the creative ability? Because Matt Hardy seems to be wanting to be more about creative than cash. And if he's able to do that whole broken gig, but tweaked a bit with Dark Order, it might work.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I completely forgot about it. He had dropped the tag team title to the Young Bucks the night before WrestleMania when they made their surprise appearance there. They've got a history with the Bucks. They've got a good relationship with the Bucks, and I think anybody who's good with the Bucks is good with Tony Khan. So I mean, that right there, I think with Marty Scurll, if he can't go AEW, I think you're probably right about that. Maybe we do see Matt Hardy coming in. AEW ratings this week beat NXT again. Surprised 871,000 compared to 769 for NXT. You guys surprised that NXT is still taking a beating, or is it AEW? Is this a sign of things to come? Are we going to see 1.5 million viewers by the end of the year?
Good. I'm trying to tell if Doug is frozen or.
I don't think he fell asleep. I think the picture actually froze.
Yeah.
I'm gonna remove him just for the time being, just so I see
Okay.
some movement. But I think the camera.
Try and check and see if they're still going. But as far as your question went, it's not surprising that AEW is still winning that war, Wednesday Night War, if that's what you want to deem it. They did lose that 1 week, but AEW is still fresh, and with the little bit of gimmicks that they've done with the Bash at the Beach and on the Jericho Cruise, that's going to get eyes curious. And when WWE is also putting NXT on their network the next day, it's not really appointment viewing. But they're taking away 700,000+ eyes away from AEW.
So we officially lost Clarence and Doug off the stream. The joys of live, streaming here. Anyways, we'll get them back for sure because we get the.
He said technical issues back soon.
All right. So, anyways, I think what we'll do, if it's okay with you, we'll finish up the pro.
Yep.
And then I'll do my Canadian Indie rundown, and then what we'll do a formal introduction of MWW. So go from ratings into Shawn. We'll get your thoughts. Keith Lee is new North American champion, as well as Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne challenging the grizzled young veterans in the Dusty Memorial Classic. I honest to God didn't see Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne against the grizzled young veterans in the finals, as well as I didn't see Keith Lee taking this one. You surprised on either one of those?
I'm not surprised about Keith Lee taking the title off of Roderick Strong. It did kind of ruin the Undisputed Era controlling all the titles, but the momentum that Keith Lee has gotten over the last while, he's being rewarded for it. The Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne combination, that might be like another Hangman Page and Kenny Omega teaming, but eventually going to be apart, maybe even at the finals, and giving somebody from NXT UK the Dusty trophy this year instead of it just being regular NXT would look good for UK. Did I expect it to be the Grizzled Young Vets? Not necessarily, but they are one of the top teams over in UK, so why not?
Not necessarily a bad thing, eh?
Nope.
All right. 2 comments here. Number 1, Jonesy, Excalibur is awesome on commentary.
Yeah, I saw that.
And Daniela Barmay, I apologize if I'm butchering your name, but good old Wingham area, she comments. So that's for the guys there at Midwestern Wrestling. Shawn, your thoughts on this as well. Davey Boy Smith, I don't know how much you follow Major League Wrestling or MLW. Your thoughts, Davey Boy Smith, Brian Pillman Jr., finals of the Opera Cup over there. Davey Boy Smith going over Brian Pillman Jr. Number 1, are you surprised that these guys are still part of MLW, knowing their legacy, their name value? And number 2, did you follow Major League Wrestling at all?
Unfortunately, there's so much out there that I don't get to catch Major League Wrestling. And unless it's on YouTube or something, I don't think we get it really here in Canada. So, hard to follow them. I heard they're going to get some sort of TV deal potentially, maybe sometime this year, which would be great for them. A little bit overwhelming for more content because there's already at least 10 hours, not counting 205 Live and AEW Dark and NWA. So that's another 13 hours just to try and squeeze that in and have a family life and work. Yeah, good luck. As far as the 2 talents that you mentioned, they at least give credibility or name value to MLW. All the other rosters out there are overloaded as well. So where are they going to get their best view? Maybe heading up a place like MLW.
Yeah, I was going to say, now you mentioned something I want to talk about probably at a later show, but is there too much wrestling out there? Or hold on, are you as a fan, you can be selective, right?
You can be more selective, and the way that's presented now because of streaming channels and YouTube and stuff like that, is now no longer appointment viewing. And I think that's the difference between now and before. You had to look forward to seeing Nitro. You had to look forward to seeing Monday Night Raw. Even when we were younger, WWE Superstars. You had to wake up for 11 o'clock and watch it in Channel 2 Detroit or 1 o'clock on CHCH in Hamilton. There was appointment viewing. 2020, it's not. And unfortunately, too many people make numbers and ratings too important, which it was important to them in the 90s and 80s to try and win and get all the revenue. But when there's so much more cable outlets and ways of viewing things, ratings only should matter to people who are invested in the show doing their commercials. Beyond that, our number should not dictate whether or not I like a show.
So 2 things. Number one, you're talking about streaming channels at TNT Throwdown CA. That's how you get in touch with our streaming channel. As well as we weren't privileged enough to get CHCH down in the Maritimes when I was growing up. You know what we had? We had WWE Saturday Night's Main Event. Every now and then when Channel 15, which was, I think, CBS or something like that, and you couldn't even predict it. You turn on at like 11 o'clock in the morning and Superstars would be on some weeks and Superstars would not be on for like 6 months later. But we had Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling, so I grew up with the Cuban Assassin, Leo Burke, guys like that. And then we had Calgary Stampede Wrestling, which was every Monday night at 6 p.m. on TSN. So that is what I grew up with. So your CHCH did not exist for this guy right here. But
Maple Leaf Wrestling.
I see that. And when I came to Ontario when I was 13 years old or 12 years old or whatever the heck it was for the first time, that I get to see. And I was talking to my wife about that actually yesterday. What the hell we were watching? AEW on the ship and that platform, the way it come out to the ring. And you always knew when they were Maple Leaf Gardens because the fact is you had that platform. And
I think JR even referenced that.
Yeah, and then Billy Red Lions and Don't You Dare Miss It and all that sort of stuff. So that to me, that was just as good as Atlantic Grand Prix and stuff like that. Matthew Bosman says hello back at you. One of your scumbags or is a loyal follower at MWW? Scumbag as well. Anyways, this is episode 4, Thursday Night Throwdown. The last topic I want to touch on as far as pro goes. Impact Wrestling, just 2 notes. Impact Rebellion has been announced Sunday, April 19th, taking place. That is their next pay-per-view. As well as, if you're not into spoilers, I'm going to mention something right now, and you can mute the show or come back in about 60 seconds and turn the audio back on. But Jordynne Grace has won the Impact Wrestling Knockouts Championship down there in Mexico as far as the TV tapings go. Shawn, your thoughts on Jordynne Grace as a wrestler, and was it the time to take the title off of Taya?
Well, I think I predicted that Jordynne should have won at the pay-per-view, and they seem to like to have the champions retain and do it at the next TV, because that's what happened in Windsor when Brian Cage lost the heavyweight title in Windsor during a TV taping to help me out.
Hold on, what?
We got Tessa beat Sami Callihan.
How do you forget about Sami Callihan?
I don't know.
How many of those freaking hires vodka drinks have you had over there?
Only one. But yeah, no, just obviously brain fart. But they did that on a TV taping. They seem to want to do it there and get people to watch their broadcast that way, even though people are spending out their good money for the pay-per-view.
How are you going to be a referee if you get that much old age going on with one drink?
I don't know. Just quick thinking.
I'm going to win that bet. I swear to freaking God.
There you go.
All right. Anyways. So again, like we've done the pay-per-view prediction show this coming weekend, and you can watch the prediction show to find out what we thought of it and our predictions, obviously, and thoughts on the events. But NWA Hard Times taking place tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on Fight TV. WWE Worlds Collide taking place Saturday night. That's on WWE Network, as well as 6:30 pre-show on their social media accounts. And then on Sunday, obviously, WWE Royal Rumble 2020 taking place. Pre-show 5 p.m. The kickoff show, as they call it, taking place social media, WWE Network, and then the main event taking place at 7 p.m. I think I totaled up 8 matches. 25 names have been announced for the men's side. 5 names have only officially been announced for the female side. So lots of names to come up. And that is it for pro. Shawn just says he's in a chat right now with Clarence and Doug, who are back. So what I'm going to do is get into Canadian independent wrestling. I'm going to do a rundown because there is a lot of shows taking place, and then we are going to interview the guys from MWW and talk about Midwestern wrestling. See, I did it again. I said it, no problems at all, without screwing up. That's my plan, the whole entire show. And you know what? I tell you this, if I can do this, and you go back and watch the show, both shows, by the way, you owe me a beer from that place in Listowel, because, and I'll tell the Midwestern guys this here. See, I did it again. That red beer that Doug had given me that night, I could not find here in London. The blonde one I had, it wasn't that great. The red beer, that was phenomenal. So anybody who's listening to this, including you, Shawn, if I can go the whole show, say Midwestern wrestling and not screwing up, somebody owes me a beer. That's a challenge. There we go. Back-to-back shows, back-to-back challenges here. So Canadian independent wrestling is taking place this coming weekend, as always. Weekend rundown, 25 shows, 1 seminar, 1 Royal Rumble watch party. So quickly go through the shows. I'm not going to mention a lot of details, but you can find them on Facebook. Go to this hashtag, actually. This is the joys of having the ability to say stuff as you're talking. There we go. Hashtag We Are CIW, which just stands for We Are Canadian Independent Wrestling. CWNonline.ca, as well as Facebook. You can find all the show listings there. But I'm going to go through them quickly here. Like I said, there are 25 shows, 1 seminar, 1 Royal Rumble watch party. So tomorrow night, Canadian Wrestling's Elite, Winnipeg, Manitoba, 365 Pro Wrestling, Kitchener, Ontario, Super Kick Pro Wrestling, Rock Show and Training Center in Toronto, Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling in Victoria, BC, Real Canadian Wrestling in Radway, Alberta, Big West Wrestling in Kelowna, BC, Bordertown Pro Wrestling in Fort Erie, Ontario. So Saturday the 25th, Barrie, Ontario, Barrie Wrestling, of course. Here's the seminars. Thrash Wrestling presents Tony Kozina Seminar, 3 p.m. Vernon, BC on the 25th as well. Full Action Wrestling in Danville, Quebec. Kaizen Pro Wrestling in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. 365 Pro Wrestling, Guelph, Ontario. Battle Arts Rising Stars in Mississauga, Ontario. Loot MBW in St. Guillaume, Quebec. This is going to be something for me to try to get these names down as far as the Quebec cities go. GEW Classique in Granby, Quebec. NCW Wrestling, Loot NCW in St. Therese, Quebec. NSPW Generation Next in St. Anne de Beaupré, Quebec. Canadian Wrestling's Elite in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling in Nanaimo, BC. Prairie Wrestling Alliance in Edmonton, Alberta. I feel like we should have some theme music going on as I'm saying this stuff. All-Star Wrestling, Vancouver, BC. Thrash Wrestling, Vernon, BC. So that's Saturday, and I'm almost out of breath. So Sunday, January 26th, Pro Wrestling Eclipse in Oshawa, Ontario. Shout out to Dr. Mask. That's from me. Junction City Wrestling, Toronto, Ontario. NSPW and Beaconcourt, Quebec. Correct me, guys, if you want to, if you're watching this. Canadian Wrestling's Elite in Regina, Saskatchewan. And the Smash Wrestling presents the Royal Rumble Watch Party at the Rec Room in Toronto, Ontario. Now, we were there for one of those a couple of years ago. That's when Ronda Rousey made their debut. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we did that at Winx here. And I believe Winx is doing that as well.
Yeah, so Sebastian Suave has been very cool as far as all of that stuff goes. Kind of the after parties, as they call them, for events like that. And unfortunately, they're not part of the London, Royal Rumble this year. But there is, like you just said, something going on at Winx.
Yep, I think they have a special menu and they're doing a watch party.
I just had to, the beer causes burps. I've been holding that in for a good couple minutes now, so I apologize. But anyways, so now is the time that we're going to welcome back Clarence and Doug for Midwestern Wrestling. Once again, there we go. Said it again. Ha, 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 ha. Anyways, do a little bit of intro for them. As you can see on the screen right now, Midwestern Wrestling, they go MWW. Down below, you'll see scrolling right now, that is their Facebook. If you search Midwestern Wrestling on Facebook, you'll get that. Twitter, that's their official tag. Instagram, that's their official tag. Now, as far as MWW goes, their first show took place Saturday, November 9th, 2019, Parkview Gardens in Listowel, Ontario. Featured the main event, the Wrestling Machine, Tyson Dukes, versus the Endorsement, Sebastian Suave, versus Von Vertical in a triple threat match. Shawn, your thoughts on the event, because we were there, and Jordan James was there too, by the way. And just to kind of prove that we were there, that is the official program right there. That is my, geez, that was loud. That is my scratch notes on the inside, keeping track of who was beating who. Also got one of these puppies here, and hopefully I'll be able to fit into it properly next time I'm up there, back in, up in March. My prediction for the main event is the next one is this guy here, and basically we'll go into a little more detail as it comes up, but that is one of my boys, the other one being Kevin Bennett. But Shawn, your thoughts on the event, and then we'll get the guys on the line. The first show, just the atmosphere as well as the matches that took place.
Yeah, the show was totally amazing. Definitely appreciated the invite by Doug to be there and take our show on the road, do a preview in the car on Facebook Live, which became our podcast also for that day. Being there, setting up to invite people before the show, updating during the show, like in the intermission, and having Jordan James and Hello Beefcake invade as well, which was awesome. And the end of the show with Jordan James again, really hyped up. I wonder how long he's been spiking his water, for that matter. But yeah, everything that we saw was totally professional. Just the setup itself, whoever they've gotten for their light and the entranceway and everything that way, the sound made Parkview Gardens a very special place that loaded up 300 people, and you wouldn't have known that it was basically a legion.
Yeah, so right now, I don't know if you see the graphic, but you got Tarek looking like he's going to, kick, punch, and chop your head off right there. He's kind of glaring at you. But anyways, enjoyable first show. Right now, folks, we're going to get on the line here. Clarence and Doug from Midwestern Wrestling. Guys, how you guys doing? And congrats on your first show, by the way.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
Anytime.
Pleasure to have you. Now, second show, as I was going to go into, Saturday, March 28th, 2020, Parkview Gardens again. Listowel, Ontario, main event, the Wrestling Machine, Tyson Dukes taking on Punch, Kick, Chop, Tarek to crown the inaugural Midwestern Wrestling Heavyweight Champion.
Which you can see in the background.
Yes, which you can see in the
background.
Oh, the belt is actually here. So we got the belt live on camera here. So either Tarek or Tyson Dukes is going to be the proud holder of that come March 28th. Now, guys, I'll ask the first question here. I guess, where do I start? Personal reactions for you guys from the first show. Did it outdo your expectations? And what made you guys create MWW in the first place?
So we basically, Clarence and I don't really travel in the same circles. Like we live in a small town, but we didn't really know each other before we went to a wrestling event here in our town. It was another promotion that put on a show. And Clarence had done some business for my business. And we were just kind of shooting a breeze, sitting behind each other and having a good time. And that's how we kind of got hooked into knowing that we were wrestling fans. Then we decided to go to another show. Yeah, it was in Listowel. And, there were some things that we said, oh, we should maybe do this. And maybe if I was doing it, I would do this. And then we just kind of, put our heads together and thought, you know what, maybe we could do this. We traveled to a bunch of shows. We've been to some shows in Kitchener area and Hamilton, Burlington. And we're like, you know what, maybe we could do this. We're wrestling fans, right? So we tried to bring that sort of approach in. That's how we got started promoting wrestling.
Yeah. First and foremost, I mean, we're just huge wrestling nerds. And if we can put a show on and bring together all the other wrestling fans, then why not?
Yeah, I think that's quite important for you guys because as being fans, you know what you want to see as opposed to expecting this is what people are going to want to see and throw it out there and hope that they like it. If you're going to like it, hopefully everybody else is.
When we first sat down and we were asking some guys for advice, like Sebastian and a few other guys, right, that we know. And we're just sort of asking for advice. We said, at the end of the day, if we put on a show and it costs us $5,000 out of our pockets to put on a show and 12 people show up, and we have the greatest wrestling show ever, then it was worth it for a one-off event, right? But fortunately, people bought into what we were doing, and we entice a lot of our local businesses, use other people's money to, with sponsorships and have some more people sort of involved, and just try to, put some butts in the seats, because the wrestlers, as you know, right? You guys have been to shows, when you see 25 or 30 people in the crowd, the wrestlers react to that, right? When they see 200-300 people in the crowd, it's quite different, right? They just put on, they're more pumped up and they're more energized, right?
Yeah, the louder the people are engaged, the wrestlers are going to do it as well. And that's sort of been our philosophy when we were doing Smash shows. You had wrestling nerds on one side, scumbags on the other, and we'd be chanting back and forth, and it actually brought in the other people who didn't know as much. If you were a newbie, you got this energy on both sides of the ring that popped them too.
What we found in Listable too is they have run some wrestling events there in the past. There's been other companies that have kind of come in and gone, but they didn't have a big presence there. Like they'd come once a year or a couple times over the course of 18 months or something like that. So we basically told the talent the night of the show, we don't know if it's going to be just everybody's there for a night out. They have never seen a wrestling show before. They don't know what to expect. Like they literally, when the announcer says one fall, we all know yellow one fall, but people around us were looking at us like, what are you guys doing? So we think we educated a few people, and by the end of it, it was pretty loud, and they were pretty on top of it. The crowd was great. We really appreciated what they brought to it.
Oh yeah. So you guys thoughts on the full house, as well as what kind of comments were made to you guys after the show had happened, like within that first week?
I mean, we had a lot of people reach out to us the following days, weeks, and months after, really, just about how professional it was, both from fans and the talent. A lot of the people, they really just wanted to know when the next one was.
Yeah, we'll say this. We did literally 20 minutes after our show, we were hit up in inboxes with about 12 or 15 talent that were not on the show, that either saw some of the talent streaming or saw you guys broadcasting it or saw pictures or whatever, and they wanted to be on the next show, right? So it helped us build our Rolodex, right, of talent. So, which is kind of nice, right, that we can, we got people, we had somebody from Maine email us and said they want to come do a show. And I'm like, dude, we're just a small promotion. We don't have talent budgets and all that, travel and all that. We don't have a corporate plane yet, stuff like that, right?
I like how you said yet, though.
Right. So there's things like that, right? Yeah, it's on its way. Yeah. Where we're working with Boeing on that. But
so is there video right now available from the first show, or is that something that you guys are looking at down the line?
Well, the video that we had, we've never done this before. We had no idea really what to expect, so with the help of Scumbags and Shawn up there, we have video and audio and all that stuff for the show. The videos that we were doing was mainly for the talent so that they could watch backstage and just critique people and do whatever they do backstage, and for us to watch backstage so that nobody was kind of peeking out. The next time around, March 28th, it's going to be bigger, louder, better. Can't wait.
And we still want you guys there filming it, because the angle you guys are on is going to be great. So we've got some surprises for you guys too.
Awesome. I had a conversation with Clarence actually the other day, and I'm hoping that we can get some access to the talent and do a quick 30-second promo from each of the talent and put together at the beginning of the show, sort of like a old school Saturday Night's Main Event, or how the Royal Rumble did, and then they can hype up their match. And when we package it together for YouTube, which, as Chris, you asked if you can watch it, if people go to YouTube and just type in Midwestern Wrestling and the date, they're going to find the actual full show in 2 parts.
And that was, you said on YouTube, eh?
Yeah, on YouTube.
All right. So, I mean, you guys, fans of wrestling, producing your first show, any hiccups the day of this show or the week leading into it that was like, oh shit, what are we into?
In my mind, I mean, there was some small hiccups that Doug and I noticed, but nothing that kind of made us say, oh shit, this is going from here to here very quickly. There was no real big hiccups.
and things that we see that are paying customer wouldn't see, right? And they didn't critique it that way. We're cursing and swearing over something, a music cue that didn't quite go at the same time or whatever, or we missed a light switch or something like that. But our customers didn't notice it. Talent didn't notice it. Overall, it was something that kind of just burned us because we wanted to put out a perfect product, but we didn't get there. We're working on that. We're a bit better the next time for sure. We've been to shows. We've all been to shows where something happens, where the music guy doesn't show up, or there's no sound, or there's no entrance music, and that's always a big part of it, right? So, just things like that. We're working towards getting better.
So the name, the logo, Midwestern, where'd that come from?
That was actually, I'd like to think it was his wife that came up with it. We were just kind of throwing the idea around about maybe we could start a wrestling company, which is not something you hear every day. And she kind of said, hey, well, why don't we do like Midwest and Midwestern? And it just formed from there organically. And I mean, we couldn't be any happier with how it turned out. Our logos are simple, easy, brandable, and amazing.
Yeah. We're really pleased with the way the logo came out. We had a few other options in front of us, and then when this one landed in our lap, we're like, yeah, that's the one we want. Obviously, show the shirt. There you go. Yeah, it came out good. We love the artwork. It's clean, it's crisp, and we liked it. And it kind of gave it that sort of that tribal tattoo look too. Sort of kind of had that feel to it. So that we want to build a brand, right? We didn't want to just do a one-off, so we wanted to do something with that. And Midwestern Wrestling basically came from Midwestern Ontario, where we're based in, right? So we didn't want to pigeon ourselves by calling ourselves, Wingham Wrestling or Dodderich Wrestling or whatever. We want to be able to go all over Midwestern Ontario and do shows.
So speaking of that, this show is once again going to be in Listowel at the Parkview Gardens. The first one was there. Where do you see yourselves branching out beyond Listowel?
Well,
where would you like to hit?
We have some key places that we would love to go to. We can't, obviously, I mean, we love you guys, but we can't give you all of the insights right away. You just kind of have to follow, and share our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook to keep up to date. But there's definitely some more shows outside of the Listowel area coming this year.
We will tell you that there is 5 shows confirmed for our dates. We just have to confirm with before we start mentioning anything. So 5, we do find where we are located in Midwestern Ontario. Weather is always it's always a nasty thing up this way. We don't want to put any talent or fans at risk trying to get to arenas. So obviously we're going to take most of the winter months off, right? Because obviously it doesn't make any sense to, run a show when nobody can get there because freak snowstorms happen at the worst of times here. So, but we're most of the winter months will be off, but we're operating from basically end of March till probably November, like we did our show last year. So
suffice to say, some of your wish list of target venues has been achieved, and we'll look forward to those spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've also got a couple of other things that are out there for people that want to buy our show and bring it into one of the things that they're doing outside festivals, that sort of thing too. So, where we wouldn't be necessarily the ones promoting it as much because it's a self-contained promotion where they just want to buy our show and bring it in, which is great for us, gives us more exposure, brings more fans and more eyes to our product. But it would be something that we still would do, but just not the same way we would do it if it was all our own.
All right, so I've got a important question for you guys. So Shawn, his Scumbags of Wrestling. Myself, I got CWN as well as the Thursday Night Throwdown. To you guys, it's MWW, Midwestern Wrestling. What makes it so unique and important for fans to check out?
We put everything into it. We try to keep our shows, 10, 11 weeks apart, just so that nothing gets stale, so that every show is a stacked card, stacked talent, awesome light show, everything we try to have just on point. If you've been out to any other promotions and seen any other shows, you definitely need to come and just take a look.
Yeah. I mean, we try to do it from the fans' perspective too, right? So, we try to put good talent out there. I mean, there's, we all know that there's guys that are working their way up, and, listen, we're not going to have Hulk Hogan at our next main event because, we just don't have that kind of money, right? But we want to put out great talent. We have great eyes for identifying talent that we think are going other places, and there's nothing better than having somebody saying, hey, I see that guy on TV now. I saw him in Listowel last year, and he was wrestling the main event there, right? So, we're big supporters of the indie scene. We do travel a lot to shows. We've been, we're down in Sarnia for the Chem Valley show. Those guys put on a great show down there. We're heading this week to Kitchener tomorrow, actually, to go see tomorrow, and then Guelph on Saturday. Go check out those guys and see what they're doing for their show. Again, good chance for us to get a good eyeball on what they're doing and maybe borrow an idea on what they're doing and maybe step our game up a little bit. That's why we're trying to do things.
And I mean, we're fans. Everything goes back to just being wrestling fans.
Agreed.
We're not going to pigeonhole ourselves and just say, well, if it's not ours, we're not going to it. Like we traveled up to Sarnia, we're going down to Kitchener and then Guelph. I mean, we support every promotion that's out there. We just, at the end of the day, the more people that see indie wrestling, the more people that can appreciate indie wrestling.
So a question for you guys. So returning talent coming back for the second show, as well as some new talent on there as well. How did you guys pick your talent for the first or second show? And I mean, where do you guys go from here? Is it another show that you see and it's like, oh, this guy would look good in an MWW ring? Or is it you're personal fans of these guys and you'd like to see them, work for you guys? What's the calling for you bringing these guys into your shows?
I mean, a lot of it is, we're fans. Back again to that. If we like their in-ring talent, a lot of it's based on just their personalities outside the ring. We want to bring in people that get the family-friendly atmosphere that we want to project to the fans. But I mean, we're always out. We're always looking. And if we feel like they would have a nice fit wearing an MWW shirt, then we reach out and have a chat and see if it's a good fit. We've reached out to some, and it's just not a fit that we like with the fan base that we have. And we reach out to some that work out perfectly, and we want to keep getting them back. Yeah,
to have the returning talent is key, right? Because you can't have the same show. Obviously, you can't have the same guys coming into the show. But so you want to have this, you want to have some guys that your fans will recognize, right? That I was at the show last time, and that guy was hilarious, like Mike Rollins, right? For example, in Listowel, that little headbanging thing he did with Carew going around. I could tell you, I was in about 3 sponsors. Places of business this week already renewing sponsorships for our show, and that was the only person that they could not stop laughing about. I mean, they just loved it. They want to make sure Mike was coming back, right? So those are the things you listen to your fans, right? We did a poll on our Facebook page. What was your match of the night? And Halal Beefcake got a lot of love because of what they do. Obviously, they're fantastic. So when we're going to run a tag match, we're going to put those guys in the tag match, right? So, which is going to be great. So that's what we try to do. We try to find good spots for guys, and some guys that have reached out, they're ultimate talent. We'd love to have them. They just don't fit with the card that we're putting together. And maybe it doesn't fit this time, but that doesn't mean it's not going to fit another time, right?
And it's also, we stacked our first show so much. Like we had every single match was a top tier match. And then we kind of sat back and said, oh shit, how do we go above this now? And I think with the card that we have for this show and the card that we're starting to get for the next show is going to just keep building on that. And each show from here on out is going to be just top notch.
And then we're also starting with returning talent. We're starting to build a storyline or two. Like we can't be episodic TV, right? Because of the the delay in between shows, just because we can't run shows every 2 or 4 weeks everywhere.
Yeah.
So sorry, but we can't. So we're trying to run a few storylines, and to do that, you need to have some familiarity, right, between the talent and the fans, and to make sure that you give them a reason to want to buy a ticket to the next one, right? So, there's a few guys that that work really well with us, and have been nothing but fantastic. And we'll put those guys on as many shows as we possibly can as their schedule permits. And then, and we'll go to those guys and say, hey, this guy's reached out or this girl's reached out. What do you think of this person? Right. And they'll either confirm or, let us know what they think of the talent. And maybe it's not a fit this time. Maybe it's a fit next time. But again, just building a Rolodex is what we're trying to do here too.
And we just want to, we want to just give a shout out to the core guys that back in August when this was just something that we just shot the shit over a beer and nothing was ever going to come through with it, like Sebastian, the Machine, Tyson Duke, those guys along with Kyle Boone and Tarek, they were instrumental in helping us and kind of giving us the this is where you should go, these are the things you need to get done. We couldn't have done it without them.
And one of the things I'll say too about talent, just as a aside, we're big loyalty guys. We had a couple of guys booked on our first show, and they bailed on us because they had double booked or got offers somewhere else or whatever. But we had a couple of guys that could have done that and left, but they didn't. They stuck around. And those guys, anytime that they're on, we run a show, they're going to be on a show. We're big loyalty guys. We understand, go get your money if you need to go get your money. But, when we have choices now of guys to bring in for talent, that's what we'll do. We'll bring in and we'll reward those guys and we'll put them in good spots and we'll feed them. We'll do whatever we need to do to keep those guys happy, because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. We want to put out a good product. And if you can look after the talent and they look after you, it's a great relationship, right?
And we get it. We're first time promoters. We could have had 5 people in there. Like, they don't know.
Right.
We could have easily stiffed them. There's so many variables when you're going, oh yeah, I'll come to your very first show with people we never know. And some people maybe got cold feet, but the ones that did come gave a hell of a show, and they'll be back.
All right, Shawn, any other questions for them before we get the full rundown of the second show coming up in March?
No, I think we got a good background on what Midwestern Wrestling starting and future for them is. So let's go on to the future with their next show.
All right, guys, I'm going to give you full screen here. Tell us about the second card and what fans can look forward to.
Well, we can start right off the hop with the Wrestling Machine. He is in a match against Tarek for the inaugural Midwestern Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. I hope Tarek's ready. But then after that, I'll leave it up to Doug here to run down the rest of the card for you.
Sure. So our one of our matches is going to be the endorsement, Sebastian Suave. He's going to take on Psycho Mike Rollins. As you guys know, we've already mentioned that. I think that's going to be a great opportunity for the fans to really see the characters come out. The most hated guy in all of independent wrestling in Ontario versus arguably one of the most popular guys. We have the Muscle taking on Corey Stone. Corey's a guy that reached out to us right after our last show and was very complimentary of our show. And we had seen him work before and thought that he would be a good fit. So we're bringing him in for the Muscle, and that'll be a great match. We're also going into a tag team triple threat elimination match. This we haven't announced this on any of our social media yet, but we're giving you guys the exclusive here. So it's Halal Beefcake versus the Revolt versus Randy Bino and
Nathan. And you'll have to excuse me because we just signed him.
Literally just tonight.
So wait till we get the match graphic up. You guys are going to go nuts.
It's going to be a great match. That's going to go into our intermission. And then after that, our next match will be it'll be Justin Sane, the Night Train. Will be taking on Kyle Boone.
10-pin Kyle Boone.
Always going to be forever branded with that, just because of what Tarek said last time he was there. And then we have a ladies match, which is Nova, who we've been a big fan of her work for quite some time here, and she is going to be wrestling Sabrina Kopp. So it's going to be a pretty stacked card. We're looking forward to 6 great matches, and it should be fantastic. And again, crowning it off with our first ever heavyweight championship match.
There may or may not be a commissioner for MWW, but again, we can't give everything away. So you're going to have to come down to Listowel March 28th. Doors open at 6. Bell starts at 7. And it's going to be an unbelievable show.
Don't you dare miss it.
There we go. Billy Red Alliance right there. And Shawn, now you're on the bottom of the screen for whatever reason. But so I'm assuming you guys are going to have more merch at the next show, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some, one of the things that we are really proud of too is the way we got out and did some kind of crazy marketing. We did some things that, just kind of went out there and said, let's think outside the box, not just, put up posters and, try to put a Facebook page together and get, we have 7 people liking it on our first, 2 months of existence. So we went out and did some aggressive marketing. We've got some really great ideas coming up in the next little while. So follow our Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram to find out where we're going to be, because we will have all kinds of tickets, information. The other thing we try to do with our shows is we're not gouging you. $15 for a ticket, 20 at the door. We did family 4-packs for $50, right? We've been to other shows where it's $35 and the shows are great and the talent's good, but we think we're putting on a great value at $15 a ticket. I think that's pretty good.
Tremendous one.
We've got the pre-sales are rolling. That's up on Friday.
Yeah, as of tomorrow night, we had tickets going on 2 for $25. So you can put a few bucks in your pants and get yourself one of those red McLean's beers that at the bar, or get yourself a couple of new T-shirts and support the independent guys that are out there trying to make a living. So get out and save yourself a few bucks at our expense and give it spread it around the wrestlers. It's great. All
right, one last question for you guys, because somebody commented here on the comments, and I still can't get her name right. Daniela Barmet. Okay, there we go. It's official.
Exactly the way it's spelled.
Barmet. So she's asking if you guys need any
East Coast.
Oh, piss off. Anyways, she's asking if you guys need any volunteers. Do you guys accept volunteers? And if you do, what's the best way to get in touch with you guys?
Well, we're always looking for people just in the spots. Like we have a lot of stuff. Like we had a couple guys reached out to see if we could help set up the ring. That's provided. That's a service that's already provided. So we didn't need assistance with that. But there's always something that can be done. We, there's just 3 of us kind of on the team right now. So we did build four. We did build a small army of volunteers around us at the last one, like concession stands, tickets, all that sort of stuff. We had one of the nice touches we did is we had people escorting our guests to their seats. We don't have numbered seats. It was kind of like a general admission, but it was good to identify them versus our VIPs. We got a lot of comments out of that. It was nice to have people actually escorting you instead of, fighting for chairs and whatever. So.
It's nice when you have 4 kids. You can, you have 4 volunteers right there. And as they get older, they have friends, and their friends can all volunteer. And then you charge them $15 for a ticket.
You're such a money hungry guy.
For sure. So second show taking place Saturday, March 28th, 2020, Parkview Gardens in Listowel, Ontario. Main event, once again, the Wrestling Machine Tyson Dukes taking on Tarek to crown the inaugural Midwestern Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. And tickets are on sale now. Hit up the social media links that you can see streaming on the bottom of the screen here. Go to Shawn's Scumbag page because he's always promoting these guys. I try to promote these guys as well, currently as the T-shirt. Good quality T-shirt, by the way. I was actually impressed about that.
Thank you.
Did you expect anything less?
No, not from the guys in Listowel. So,
hey, guys, we really appreciate everything that you guys do. Not only for us, because we appreciate the voice that you guys have given us, but everything you guys do for the independent scene. The pro scene that you guys touch on is great, but the indie scene. I mean, the more eyes that are on it, the better for everyone. There is a market for wrestling. Everywhere in every small corner of Midwestern Ontario and beyond, right? So we appreciate the voice and the vision that you guys are putting out there. It helps to get guys on shows. It helps to get butts in the seats. It really does help, and we appreciate it. And anything we can do for you guys in the future, by all means, keep us in mind. We'll help you with whatever we can do.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot. As you said, there's like hundreds of podcasts out there doing the pro stuff, and if we can do something unique and put a spotlight on the indie scene, we'll do that. I kind of put it last week on my podcast that you guys are sending March out like a lion with the card that you're putting on. It's going to be an awesome card. Regardless of the weather, lamb or lion, you guys are roaring out.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
That's just the start of it.
Yeah. I'll work on the details with you guys just offline and stuff, but I'd love to have you guys back on March the 26th, 2 days before the show, to do another episode of the Throwdown. Just anything else that's happened in between, as well, maybe with one of the two main eventers on the line with us. So I'll have to reach out to one of those guys as well.
That's great.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you very much for doing the show, guys, and we will see you in March.
Thanks,
For sure. Thank you.
All right. There we go, Shawn.
Yeah.
So I'm still honestly learning this, as you can tell by the prediction show, and you've seen the screens go back and forth. You won't notice on the audio, but obviously you know it's here. There we go. That's what we're using. We'll leave the logo back up in the background. But Midwestern Wrestling, MWW, you can see, like I said, there's social media links down below there. Shawn, you looking forward to the card?
Oh, of course. As soon as it was the two pillars going against each other, that was a must see. And the first ever champion is going to be crowned. Who's going to hold up the title? Will it be the Wrestling Machine or Mr. Punch Kick Chop? And then now that you see some of the other things that are going to happen on there, with the addition of Nova and Kyle Boone, and of course having Sebastian Suave and Muscle and Psycho Mike Rollins, it's an all-around perfect card.
Yeah, so the one thing you guys did touch on that, nobody can really say enough, is the fact is every podcast out there can talk about whatever the heck they want to on any given day. And we did a prediction show before this, and everybody's talking about the Rumble and Worlds Collide, and some people talk about the NWA and whatever the case may be. But the fact is that the tie-ins, I think, between me and you, as far as the Canadian independent wrestling scene, the Ontario independent wrestling scene, the stuff that's happening here in London, Listowel, of course, that's the stuff. That's why our podcast is out there. Shawn's Scumbags of Wrestling podcast, why I do CWN, because of the fact we want to put the focus on the independent guys, on the independent scene. This is where they start out before they go pro. And, when they go pro, it's not necessarily one of those things you have to forget about, but they're not necessarily themselves when they do go pro. Their name changes, their style changes, and they make a heck of a lot of money. Yeah, but Tarek goes up. Are we still going to see Tarek be Tarek? You know what I mean? Tyson Dukes has had his run back and forth, and for personal and family reasons, everything else, he's gone back and forth. But the fact is, he's still a name out there. And the good thing about Tyson, he's always wrestled as Tyson Dukes, which is kind of cool. Gimmick has changed a little bit, and thank God for the better.
Not dancing anymore.
No, he's not dancing anymore. But fact is, independent wrestling is where it's at. Independent wrestling is where the show's at, and will always be our focus, at least for half the show. And the interviews that we can do, the promotion that we can do, the T-shirts that we can hold up, not just because of the fact that we're focused on Midwestern wrestling tonight, but the fact is because I wanted that T-shirt. It was a cool looking T-shirt, and as a wrestling fan, it's now I own that T-shirt. So, and Shawn, you're the same way. I mean, the amount of money you spend on independent wrestling is probably right up there with the amount of money that we spent in Toronto at SummerSlam last year.
Oh, for sure. And the awesome part is, like you just mentioned SummerSlam weekend, without knowing the independent wrestling scene and being a part of it and going to all these shows, the following Monday night on Raw, seeing Sebastian Suave and Carter Mason getting squashed by the Viking Raiders, to somebody in Wichita, Kansas, it's, here's two jobbers. But to somebody in Ontario or anywhere that these guys go, like Quebec and Buffalo, we're popping for this because it's like, I know those guys. And, even look at Shotzi Blackheart. She's been around this area. Now she's on NXT. If we're able to see them first, that's amazing.
That name is banned from the show, by the way. You guys want to talk about double booking, okay?
I know.
Yeah. Anyways, we won't go too much detail about that. But anyways, Shawn, your Scumbags of Wrestling hashtag, everything else is on the screen right now. How can people find you other than Facebook, and what's going on in your personal world of wrestling right now?
Definitely find us on Facebook, but I've been doing the Ontario Indie Road Trip, taking a look each and every week of the independent wrestling shows that you can check out. I try to do it in a 2-week span, so if you're not able to go to anything this weekend, you can check out what's coming up next weekend, get your tickets, and that's happening. I stopped by the Tyson Dukes Wrestle Factory weekly, hoping that they're doing some matches. haven't been able to do any matches lately, but that's because the talent are working on their fundamentals. Tyson is huge on fundamentals in the ring, and seeing that happen and what they put together and eventually in the different venues is amazing to watch each and every week. So when we get a chance, we're going to bring back the production line, which is seeing the future stars being built today at the factory. And then, of course, there's Thursday Night Throwdown and our podcast that happens each and every week covering independent wrestling, pro wrestling. It's available on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and pretty much everywhere else.
Yeah, very cool. And you're one of the reasons I know about Anchor, and Anchor has done the same thing for this podcast right here, Thursday Night Throwdown. So again, Google, iTunes, Spotify, all over the place. So it's absolutely amazing technology in 2020. As far as my baby goes, that is it right there. So CWN, #CWN online. CWNonline.ca. That's my kind of news site. I do a lot of aggregating, so I just make sure that as a Canadian wrestling fan, what news is out there. The Thursday Night Throwdown is part of that as well. I'm going to start doing interviews this year as well, just one-on-one interviews that you will see on Throwdown as well as on CWN, so exclusive to that. But that is my baby right there. You can reach me, Chris, at CWNonline.ca if it's anything pertaining to that website. Anything pertaining to Thursday Night Throwdown is right here, folks. So Thursday Night Throwdown at Outlook.com. If you have any questions that you want answered by us, any guests that you want to see featured, promotions across Canada that you want to see featured on here as well, my goal is to try to get at least 2 interviews a month. I think that would be absolutely cool, and especially promoter interviews leading into a show, or the main event guys coming on to the show right before the show happens. I think that would be a cool concept as well. Shawn, I think you're game for pretty much anybody we can bring on, because wrestling just as much as me, sometimes probably even more so, but I'm never going to friggin' admit that, so screw that. But anyways, this has been a great show. Thanks once again to Doug and Clarence as far as Midwestern wrestling goes. See, I've done it again. All I got to do, this is that one show I'm going to go back on. A couple weeks from now, I'll be like, shit, man, now I can't get the name right again. But I am getting, maybe I'm just getting better. What do you think?
Quite possible. Say it long enough.
I say it in my sleep. But there we go, Midwestern Wrestling, MWW, and I'll put up their links once again for anybody who wants to follow them on social media. It's been great. It's been a good 2 hours. I'm going to finish this beer, maybe get some food, and until next week, Shawn, thanks for being the part of the show once again.
As always.
And this time I'm going to see you. Oh, hold on. We got one more comment before we leave. Oh, Danielle Barmett. I got that name right too. Bring back MWW. So there we go. Definitely the invite's out there for March 26th, 2 days before the show. But yeah, we will definitely try to have them on again, probably before that. So again, thanks everybody for watching and listening. And anybody listening online or on audio, thanks for tuning in. And we will see everybody next week.